These holy and divine laws are to be strictly preserved by the members of all the temples of the Moorish Science Temple of America, that they would learn to open their meeting and guide it according to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. The Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, chapter 47, verse 13. I'm Brother H. Rodney Ciel. I'm the Supreme Grand Press Secretary and Public Relations Officer of the Supreme Grand Council of the Uniting of the Moorish Science Temple of America. I am also the Grand Governor of the state of Georgia. In light of recent events regarding the group known as the Rise of the Moors, on July 5th, and their hours-long standoff with police on I-95 in Massachusetts, the Uniting of the Moorish Science Temple of America would like to release the following statement. The Moorish Science Temple of America was founded in 1913 by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. It was founded for the purpose of uplifting fallen humanity and to teach those things necessary to make our members better citizens. Our founder and prophet, Noble Drew Ali, instructed the Moorish Americans to demonstrate the fundamental principles for our civilization of our posterity, such as obedience to law, respect, and loyalty to government, tolerance, and unity. Within our holy record entitled The Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, divinely prepared by the noble prophet Drew Ali, the prophet stresses that we demonstrate moderation in our actions. He was never a proponent of extremist thought, speech, or action. Prior to the advent of the prophet Noble Drew Ali's early missionary work in 1913, there was no mass movement in America referring to itself as Moorish. The usage of the term Moorish is one of ethnicity or national descent, connecting those falsely labeled Negroes, blacks, and colored back to the ethno-social political ideal nationality of their forefathers. As Moorish Americans, we are instructed by the prophet that the Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. We are also instructed that we are Moorish Americans because we are descendants of Moroccans and born in America. These teachings were brought to the Asiatics of America by the prophet Noble Drew Ali and no other. This brings us to our topic. Moorish American Muslims are taught to move in a particular manner. When that particular manner is learned, it is quite easy to separate truth from falsehood. The Moorish Divine National Movement has seen its share of outside extremism that in truth can be referred to as radical militarism. Radical militarism can be defined as the belief adopted by particular people that they should be prepared to aggressively defend their ideals by any means attainable, lawful or otherwise. Radical or agitating methodologies are not only un-Islamic, they also violate the very principles and virtues established by our beloved prophet for our Moorish society. This radical militarism has taken on many forms, such as sovereign citizen ideology, tax protesting, house squatting, birth certificate schemes, anti-government rhetoric, all of which attempt to cloak itself within the Moorish American paradigm. The holy institution which coordinates the affairs of Moorish American Muslims in the United States of America is the Moorish Science Temple of America. No fringe group bearing a foreign teaching can take control of the destiny of this divine movement. Allah alone controls the destiny of this divine and national movement. Effects of this radical militarism can be seen throughout the nation. Those who have a propensity towards criminal activity are drawn to this rogue element, the attracting factor being acquiring something for nothing. Bogus liens have been placed on people's houses. Fraudulent lawsuits have filled the courts by people claiming an authority that bears no coherent or cogent presentation. Thus, a huge injustice is being leveled upon humanity. An organization and movement that was divinely prepared to address the social, economic, and political ills of the Asiatic people in America is being demonized and accused falsely of being something that it, in and of itself, never claimed to be. In the core literature of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, he never instructed anyone to go the criminal route to attain any victory over the oppressive aspects of the broader society. The even bigger tragedy is that the international media outlets have begun to pick up these lies and publish them as though they are true. This particular document comes from an article published by a newspaper known as the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail is out of London, England. It says, Daily Mail, a refusal to acknowledge U.S. laws, belief in UFOs, and selling fake passports for their abandoned house headquarters. The inside story of the rise of the Moors, quote unquote, militia, who hit the headlines after standoff with Massachusetts cops. And this is by Tate Deloye for dailymail.com. This was published during that military time, hour of 23:15 on the 5th of July, 2021. All right? And as you see the slander, so you know a lot of our people don't read. A lot of our people see images and that interprets in their mind as the truth, right? So you see a picture of our beloved Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And it actually says at the bottom, founder, Noble Drew Ali. Next, they have his first successor, whom I gave honors to in my opening, whose name is Brother E. Mealy Ill, who was the first Supreme Grand Sheikh appointed by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and it says successor, E. Mealy Ill. It has the picture of the first annual convention of the Moorish Science Temple of America in 1928, October 15th to 20th, 1928. Then they have the picture of this Asiatic, all right, who was the founder and leader of this group called the Rise of the Moors. And they have a title on there, which I don't know if this is what he calls himself, but it says Grand Chief of Rhode Island. And it's a picture of him holding a rifle, standing between Prophet Noble Drew Ali and E. Mealy Ill. This is not what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought to us. This is not how Moorish American Muslims in the United States of America demonstrate, and we, of the Uniting of the Moorish Science Temple of America, will not tolerate it. The Daily Mail, which is a media source based in London, England, actually took the picture of our divine Prophet Noble Drew Ali and a picture of the first Supreme Grand Sheikh appointed by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Brother Edward Mealy Ill, and placed a picture between them of an individual who it is reported to be the leader of a group referring to itself as the Rise of the Moors, holding a rifle. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali never, and I repeat, never told anyone to pick up arms, let alone take pictures with them under a quote unquote Moorish ideal. We of the Uniting of the Moorish Science Temple of America do not support this. During the first annual convention of the Moorish Science Temple of America in 1928, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali made the following decree, and I quote, all officers and members of the Moorish Science Temple of America and any such rules and regulation of the Constitution shall be in writing and not at variance with any law of the city, town, or nation which the prophet shall declare a law, unquote. Thus it is the position from a divine perspective that a Moorish American Muslim cannot make a law that is at variance, meaning in contradiction with, inconsistent, or divergent with the city, town, or nation in which the prophet shall declare a law. From a religious jurisdiction perspective, our divine lawgiver, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, instructed us to obey the law. The radical militaristic spirit is simply not in conjunction with the Moorish society, movement, or organizing efforts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Where the radical militaristic chimera rears any of its ugly heads in the manner of a chameleon seeking to cloak itself within a Moorish complexion, the sheiks of the Uniting of the Moorish Science Temple of America, who are set in defense of the gospel, will always rise and denounce the lies that are spread against Allah, His prophet, or the pure atmosphere of love brought to us by our beloved prophet, Noble Drew Ali, known as the Moorish Science Temple of America, or the Moorish Divine National Movement. We will not allow the thieves and robbers to steal this treasure of Allah from us. obeying the law as laid down to us by our prophet, Noble Drew Ali, will ensure that peace and happiness dwell in our Father's house, while simultaneously not causing us to be at variance with the United States of America, of which every, and I repeat, every Moorish American Muslim instructed by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali is an active citizen. One Allah, one Prophet, one temple. May there always be peace in our faith and love in our actions. I leave you as I came, in peace.